Hello, welcome again this Thursday evening. Thought you could join us, even amid what's going on. Is it some kind of day today? Is it in football that breeds some excitement? Never mind that. We've got an hour of exciting conversation here, and dare I say, an hour of sanity. You may just need that hour of sanity, but during this hour of sanity, there will, of course, be a little bit of insanity, because I'll be trying to look at this at various stages during the show, and we will be talking football transfers, those that have taken place, those that might take place. We'll try to enjoy the madness of transfer deadline day. I'm joined by a man I see all too often and a man I don't see often enough. You take your pick on that. David Holdsworth, ex-Sheffield United captain, and Paul Pashley, crooner extraordinaire and a star turn at Sheffield Wednesday's 150th birthday bash this coming Monday at Ponds Forge. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
The guy that I see all too often is sitting furthest from me, where he can't kick me as often as he does on a Thursday morning. David Holdsworth, personal trainer these days.
Yes.
There's a chance to advertise. Come
on. No, you know me. I like low key, mate, under covers, but it's nice to see you up.
It's nice to see you as well.
Yeah, especially without you swearing and blaspheming at me.
Yeah, quite. I do a bit of that, but in fairness, you do a bit of that. So
well, quite rightly so, mate. You need it. You need to kick up the bottom.
You certainly do.
You do.
Well, you do actually, because you get me doing stuff there that if I was on my own, I couldn't urge myself to do.
Yeah, but you're a willing adversary, and likewise, it's always great to have an hour of your time.
A conversation is
what
it is. The conversation.
We do have some fun.
The conversation will be far better than this programme, probably. Anyway, but even better than the conversation, we'll be hearing you sing. Are we going to hear you sing at some point?
I don't know if you'd want that, really.
I would. We would.
Bank holiday weekend.
We certainly would. We would. Well, I'll let you think about that. You know, you're going to be performing. You're an Owls fan because you've been in here before, and we had a great chat. And you don't just call yourself a supporter. You know, there are one or two who say, "Oh, I am a Wednesday fan," but actually, when you talk to them, don't know very much about it. You know every cough and spit of what's going on. You follow
I like to keep an eye. I think when you grow up supporting a boyhood team, you know, you always keep an eye close to the ground. Well, ear close to the ground and an eye on transfer deadline day and things like that, just to see what's going on. And I don't know. I like to know what's going on both sides of the city as well.
Yeah,
you know, I think it's good for the city.
Yeah. And your routine on Monday, how long are you performing for?
2:45 minutes, about an hour and a half.
Game of two halves?
Yeah, game of two halves. Yeah.
Right.
Make no subs. No subs.
Yeah.
I might get pulled off after 45 minutes. You never know.
EP?
Yeah, maybe.
Time?
Yeah, extra
what
time.
Kind of stuff? What kind of stuff? Can you?
I think. I mean, obviously, I do a few of the standards, but I've got my own takes and stuff like the Rag and Bone Man. I've got my own stuff I've written and had written for me as well. So I'll put those in and look at the crowd. I'll see what's going down really. And
so you can just change it.
Yeah. I have with my band. I can have all the numbers, so I remember what song goes to what number. The guys can place it ready. I'll have some idea of.
And you've got all the words for all of these.
Somewhere. Somewhere
that you can just bring out.
Seem to come out.
Let's hope the mood is good. There are no games between now and then.
No.
So you know, people have had time to recover from maybe a disappointment or two this season. So it should be a happy occasion. Should be a happy occasion.
As long as no one's singing, "Please release me, let me go."
Drop that one.
Leave that one alone.
Yeah, definitely. We'll talk about Owls from your. You know, you've got views on Owls. You'll have views on Blades.
Yeah,
I mean, David, you follow. You've got a great affinity with your old club here in Sheffield. And I haven't had anybody in here say a bad word about anything that's going on there, which is right.
Quite rightly so, I think, at the moment. The club's progressed impressively, and certainly the start of the season's been strong. They've gained points, which is the key factor, not drawn games. They've won 3 games and certainly beaten last week in a strong side in Derby. But they've won their home games, which is what Sheffield United needed to do. It needed to turn that into a fortress at Bramwell Lane.
As it was in your day.
Yeah, I mean, both sets of fans. I mean, I'm a massive Sheffield person, a Yorkshire person in terms of that.
Blades fans don't say massive.
Well, I do because I'm a Londoner. I can say it. But it is huge. It is huge, and it's big. The fans behind Sheffield United are superb. Same as they are at Wednesday, by the way. When the teams click in, everything's right. Wednesday got into the playoffs for the last 2 seasons, and they've been behind them. They didn't play well Wednesday last season. They drew to a lot of games. They should have done better. And this season is a season they can do better. Certainly better if they get that continuity in their performances. But Blades have come up. Chris has done a fantastic job so far. Absolutely brilliant. Their recruitment's been good and it's been progressive. They haven't tried to unsettle the squad. They people say it's a honeymoon. It's not a honeymoon. It's a continuity. Yeah. And the club itself has gained progress, and it's been admirable from inside and out. And as I say, I've been down there. Down there last week. Tough game against Barnsley when the sending off came, but they've got a manager who's studied the game. He's learned, and he's learning the game still. He's learning about the Championship.
Yeah. First division it was in your time. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I'm not that old, Al. But clean sheets, the key. Yeah. The clean sheets, the defensive part of it, and Chris has got that organised, and they're doing well.
They've had 5
and that's
games.
Where Wednesday have got to improve in keeping clean sheets, and if they do that, they'll be in the top 6. I think they've got enough going forward Wednesday. But their defence is key.
Should be. Just before we leave United for now, they've had 5 games and they've actually turned up and performed in all 5, including the 2 that they lost away. Yeah. They've won 3 at home. There were varying predictions about what they would do this season. I was going for top half of the table. Tony Curry sat here and said he thought top 2 even. And he said it with a straight face. You know, that this continuity, momentum. Where do you think?
No, well, I wouldn't want to put that on Chris at all. I wouldn't want to think that at all. I don't think that's. I respect Tony's thoughts.
He did it after the,
No, it's heart, head and heart. I agree, and I respect Tony for that. But likewise, for me, being pragmatic would be that getting up into the division, finishing in a place where the club can progress again the next season would be the place for me. We've started well. Yeah. Let's not put too much pressure on the manager, because the manager needs support always. Yeah. He's come up. He's gone into a new division. It's his first experience in this level as a manager. Yeah. Don't put too much on him. Come on. We've started great. A couple of blips, and all of a sudden people go, hold on, we're back. That'd be wrong to do that on Chris.
But in a way, he puts that on himself because he
sets
no
limits.
I
know Chris well.
And he sets no limits.
No, sets no limits. The expectations. Yeah. I love that about him, and I'd be the same. But I'm not accepting the fact that we can say to him he's got to be in the top 2. I don't accept that.
Well, nobody's saying he's got to be in the top 2 at all. No. Just re-evaluating it.
Listen, you go to Middlesbrough.
I wonder if a playoff challenge is realistic. I just wonder. I wouldn't rule it out.
No, I wouldn't rule it out. But we can only see as it progresses. Yeah. Let's not put any pressure on the manager. No need. No. If we consolidate and we make sure we're in the top half, perfect. Because it's a progression. Yeah. Burnley did it, Stoke did it many years ago, and we're going back to it's about being sensible, not expecting to. The fans at Blades are realistic enough to know we can't finish in the top 2. I think last year there was a Newcastle and Brighton. Yeah. We haven't got that this year. At the moment, Wednesday, if they kick their bums into gear, they can be around there because they've got offensive values. Right now, Chris is doing a great job.
Oh, fully agreed. And it's to his credit that people are even talking about, just wonder if he can go straight through. Because with that momentum, you've seen Southampton do it in two bounces in recent years. They're not the only ones. I think Norwich did it in 2 bounces as well. So clubs of similar size, once they get their first promotion, could do it again. And United did under Dave Bassett.
You need a slight little bit of luck sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And you need that little bit of force at the right times. Yeah. He started brilliantly. He's got 9 points, and they've won games. The home film will be conducive to the progression, and the key to it is having your right players in the right places. Billy Sharp started brilliantly for Blades. Nobody said he could do it. It's rubbish. Put the ball in the box. Billy comes alive.
It's amazing how many people wrote him.
And ultimately, with the greatest respect in the world, United at the moment are an unknown force. They didn't know. So you've got to go to your big clubs. They went to your Middlesbrough. Got beat, fine, okay, didn't get undone. Should have been a goal in the last minute. Cardiff are playing well. They've got an old boy there called Warnock who knows the division. He's doing fine. He knows the division inside out. course he's learning, but he's learning about the club still. They're progressive. It's one step at a time. And for me, they're making the right moves.
Lots of moves in the transfer market have been debated and have been talked about. I'm not sure they've come to fruition yet with Sheffield United. We'll talk about those in a minute. But the word pressure, which, you know, quite rightly isn't attached to the manager of Sheffield United, has to be attached to Sheffield Wednesday in what's expected this season.
Yeah, I think when he first came, Carlos, nobody really knew. With all respect to Carlos, nobody knew anything about him.
Yep.
I think he's been given ridiculous resources now, riches where obviously, being a Wednesday fan, you see the fans react. It doesn't take a lot for a fan to react to a good signing to start getting excited. And then when you see all these players coming in, you know what we've got now, about 6 or 7 forwards. We've got young George Hurst as well.
Yeah.
And I think this year there's a lot of pressure on him. I really do.
Yeah.
And I've been to a couple of games, and I don't know whether that goes onto the pitch, the pressure. But just going back to United, what I see at United, you know, it sort of can scare if you're a Wednesday fan, especially at the minute, because Chris Wilder's a blade, you know, and he's in there.
Yeah.
And Carlos is passionate as well, obviously, you know, he's a passionate guy, but when I look at United play and I watch them against Leicester, and even though they got beat against Leicester, Premier League side, they still had heart. They still kept going.
Passion.
You know, and I think all the fans in the city are looking for this derby. And at the minute, you know, as much as I love a derby, I wouldn't.
You're kind of intimating there that Unitedites are fancying it a bit more than Wednesdayites at the moment.
At the minute, yeah. I mean, the next few hours, again.
But 3 games time, anything can change.
Yeah. If we make a ridiculous signing tonight, then all the fans will be going, oh, yes, here we go.
You've got 2 home games, haven't you? You've got 2 home games, and then a tough away game, and then the big one.
I don't think you can underestimate the strength of the relationship. We've had this conversation before many times between Dapol Shansiri, the owner and chairman, and Carlos Carvalho. It's genuinely strong, and I think some people are naive enough to think that by now there would have been a change. This chairman is not like that. He's not like that.
I don't think he's had any reason, has he, at the minute?
No
I
reason.
think he's done so well the last 2 seasons, and some people argue that we didn't play that well last season, but, you know, the last 6 games with Gary Hooper, we tend to go on this. We went on a roll.
Yeah.
And you know, we got into into a good position.
It should be better, but it can be, can't it? It can be with these players. But I just wrote a piece again in the Sheffield Telegraph this season. Things been a bit too comfortable. Not been enough change. Not been enough churn in the squad. Needs that percolation, if you like, David.
Well, I think we like to see an injection. We've seen Boyd come in.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm talking about as a sub-zero Wednesday here. I'm saying there was a defensive issue. Didn't keep enough clean sheets for the last 2 seasons. Got into the playoffs on the offensive values. They needed additions in defence. Goalkeeper's solid. He's a good guy, right? He's a good player and a good shot stopper. Good goalkeeper. They needed additions this summer in the centre half position.
They've made 2.
And perhaps right now that's local now.
Yeah.
But
Federico Venancio and Just Van Aken have both been.
Do you know what I think?
Brilliant, right? He served me the other week in a restaurant down the road, that fella. Right? I'm joking, but what I'm saying is that they needed this in pre-season. I don't understand why it's come to the last moment today, and it should have been addressed earlier for Wednesday supporters, because as an outside fan of Sheffield clubs, is that they needed them additions quicker.
Better late than never.
Yeah, better late than ever, because it might address it, and then Wednesday fans can go, you know what, we can now address that situation. They need clean sheets.
You're hoping for a bit more movements before the
I'd like to see, and this sounds crazy, but I want to see somebody at the side of Bannon or Lee. I want to see a beast in the middle.
You need a bully. You need a bully in there.
You want a Carlton Palmer?
Yeah, we need somebody that knocks players out.
It's funny that.
You need a bully in there.
Yeah, because all respect to Sam Hutchinson, who's a great player when he's fit.
Yeah.
You know,
He's a liability.
You want a big.
He's either suspended, injured, or in trouble. And he's a good player, a very good player. I know Wednesday fans love him, and I think he's a very, very good player. But there's something about it that causes that unsettling at times. They need a steady Eddie in there. They need a Vieira type player.
Carlton himself was in here and said, you know what, they need a Carlton Palmer. And he said,
really?
Did
he say that? No, I can't believe that. Did he say that?
Yeah, he did actually. No, nothing at the minute. Rotherham have signed a defender called, oh crikey, pass on the surname. Manny from Brentford.
Manny
I need my glasses on to read the surname. But there's another deal going through. Sheffield United, all the players linked with them just in the last couple of days, they've all got exotic names. I mean, there's no David Holdsworth there. You've got names like Devante Cole, Domingo Quina of West Ham, Cameron Carter-Vickers, signed from Spurs, young defender, and Jerome Sinclair. These names, a striker that they're looking at from Watford. All these names have got a ring about them, yeah?
The only thing, they're a Smith or a Jones.
No.
The thing for me is that they're going to be peripheral players. They're youngsters, it seems. And Chris has taken the value of that they're not going to be expensive in loan moves. So if they are going to go through, they're going to add to the squad in terms of energy. What Blades perhaps, and in my view, maybe lacking in pre-season in the first games was a little bit of pace. Pace to extend teams to beyond the game. The player I would have loved to have seen at Blades was Naki Wells. Obviously, he's gone to. It appears that he may have gone to Burnley.
I think at Wednesday, most.
And I agree. And I would love to have seen him in a Blade shirt. Again, expense and the culture of outspending rivals is not going to be something that the Blades are going to go down to. So they've taken the option of going into younger players and perhaps the future potential, which I don't disagree with. And again, it's costability and affordability. So I don't mind that at all. With Harry's gone down the wrong road, the different road at Birmingham, where he's spending fortunes. So can Blades afford that, or would they do that? I don't think that's advisable.
I think they've got a better manager, actually.
He's
Sheffield
bought,
United
haven't
and Birmingham City have for all the
Jota
past.
Is it Jota? Is it Jota? Jota
Yes.
from Brentford?
Yeah, Jota. They would have been
6 million.
6 million. And I tell you what, another one went to Hull for just 2 million. The midfield player Jackson Irving from Burton. What a great signing for 2 million that is.
You see,
by Hull City.
Hull let go of Huddleston, who I thought for Wednesday would have been a good player.
I have to agree with you.
Well,
I think
clearly
well.
financial fair play kicks in, and not surprisingly, because no matter how wealthy the chairman, he's still committed. That he hits a wall on that eventually. So that requires a little bit of, that's where you buy and sell and
It's called management.
wheel and deal.
It's called management.
And that's where I think the challenge is for the next phase of Sheffield
I think
Wednesday.
with Wednesday we've bought arguably too many players in positions. Like we've got loads of midfield, we've got loads of strikers. We're very, very light at the back. We haven't got much pace.
I touched on it earlier. Is that there's no pace up front, and where does the width come from? And you've got your Forestieri in there. Where do you play him? And where are your fullbacks? Are your fullbacks good enough? And where are your centre halves? If Wednesday are going to progress, they needed to address the clean sheet situation. And they did it a little bit better last year. Got in the playoffs, which is fantastic. But then at the next level is that you need an Iron Man at the back, a leader, and an Iron Man in midfield. And I think if they were going to do that, they'd have every chance this year.
Mentioning Forestieri, the talk has been about him and whether a bid's coming in. He's not been getting in the team, so you'd think, that he's been in play for a bid that they would accept. Every player's got his price. Jordan Rhodes as well, which has upset quite a lot of supporters, the thought that he could be sold. But then again, every player has his price. What do you think?
For me, Jordan Rhodes scores goals everywhere. So if he's not scoring, I don't really blame Jordan Rhodes. I've watched games this season, and his supply, they're having to come out, they're having to go wide, Hooper drops deep, just to get the ball.
For what it's worth, I totally agree with you. I don't know whether you've noticed, he's not been supplied with the ammunition since he arrived.
But this happened when he came in last year, and I said, well, okay, because obviously I watch every game I can do, but where is Jordan Rhodes going to score from? He's not going to score from a deep ball from right back or left back. He's not that type of player. And ultimately, he needs crosses, he needs balls from the right angles inside the last third, across the goalkeeper, so he can use his knowledge and his pace and his awareness to get across people. He hasn't got that supply, and he's got no wingers.
What's interesting as well, going back a few years at Wednesday, Gary Medine was on a bit of a lenient spell. And then Ben Marshall came, who offered width, could cross, a bit of pace. And he put him on his head, he put him everywhere for him. And that was the difference, wasn't it?
There are signs of Adam Reach doing this.
There are signs. The key to it, isn't there, is that most teams playing now at 5 at the back. It's a tactical thing. So teams have got to address the 2v1 down the outside. Arsenal struggling with it. So I'm talking about the top level. But if you've got a 2v1, a fullback that can actually overlap, you can have an insurgence down the outsides. But in the league, when you're playing with players that come short, you've got no length. And ultimately, that's where a lot of clubs are struggling because they don't have that player. Like I was saying about Nakiwell.
I'm struggling. Because we've got 12 seconds left to the break. The first half's nearly gone.
That's it, really.
Just take 5 minutes. I'll check my mobile, see what's going on, and rejoin us for more transfer chat, football chat generally with these two. See you then. See you.